Jim Edwards here from MMA Latest News.com. I'm joined here by Rory MacDonald at UFC Dublin. Rory, you're in an extremely far distance away from home. What brings you to Dublin this week?
The fight's on Saturday. There's some guys that try to start fighting, so I wanted to show my support for them and come out there and help if I could. So I'm out here doing the guest fighter thing for UFC during the week, and I'm basically here for the fights.
And what have you been up to in Dublin since you've arrived? Have you been to any of the local pubs and enjoyed any of the local scenery?
So far, I've been to Murray's Bar for a guest UFC appearance with a couple other fighters. And we did some traveling around, doing different events like UFC giveaways and things like that. So I've seen a bit of the town, but not too much.
And obviously, the Lawler fight, just coming off that, it was an incredible fight. You had him hurt towards the end of, I think it was the third or the fourth round. What are your memories of that fight, and what did you take away from it?
Very hard fight, and a good experience for my career. I think every fighter at one point needs to at least have one of those kind of fights where you really, you have to push yourself. You have to go beyond what you expected in a fight. And I feel like I got a lot of ring experience going 5 rounds like that and being hurt for the whole fight. So I really think that's gonna give me a certain maturity I didn't have going forward in my career.
And how much respect do you have for Robbie Lawler? Because you seem to get on quite well with him before the fight.
Yeah, no, I have a ton of respect for him. Obviously, even more now after a second fight in a war like that. So, I have plenty of respect for everyone who fights and who I compete against. I can't wait to get in there again, fight him again.
You obviously took quite an extreme amount of damage during that fight. When you reflect on that, how do you think how many more fights like that do you think you could have possibly in your career? It's
hard. It's really hard to say. There's guys that have fights like that their whole career. They just get more after war after war. I try not to. I try to do the damage, and come out unscathed if possible. That's the whole concept of martial arts is to hurt someone and protect yourself, So hopefully I won't get hurt like that ever again, but I expect that I will.
After the last fight, it seemed like you took on a whole new fandom of the world of MMA. Seemed to really embrace you. Just for your heart that you showed in that fight with Lawler. Is that something that you experienced and you could actually tell a difference with?
Yeah, it's definitely nice, because before that I'd been tagged as the boring guy because I had one fight that I had one fight that didn't go people's way. So I always felt like I was kind of getting shortchanged with people's attitude towards me when they'd see me on cards, like, oh, it's gonna be a boring fight. But if you look at the history of my fights, they've pretty much all been finishes, or if they haven't, then they've been performance of the nights, fights of the nights, things like that. So I feel like this fight really gave me a little more credit that I deserve.
And since that fight, have you ever tried to make any changes since you've been back in the gym for your next fight?
Yeah, always. I'm always in there working, and I feel like I learned a lot from that fight, and it opened my mind up to some things, and I've really been coming into my own the last few months of training. I really feel like I'm in there doing a lot more damage, and I think that's going to come out during my fights. Just that confidence, of doing damage in the fight, and I'm excited to get in there again.
And obviously, the big question on everyone's lips is when's Rory going to be back? When are we likely to see Rory back in the cage?
Yeah, I still have to get cleared for my broken nose, so hopefully that's soon, and then training camp. So maybe end of January or February.
Is there any ideal opponent for you, or someone you feel would be like a logical step?
A lot of people have been saying Hector Lombard, so sure.
That's something you would like as well?
Yeah, of course. He's a great opponent, and I've a lot of respect for the way he fights and things like that. So I'd love to compete with a guy of his caliber.
How would you approach, a fighter like Lombard is obviously very intense, very powerful, like what kind of both like mental approach and what kind of game plan approach would you have against a fighter like him?
It's going to be the same thing I carry into all my fights. I'm going to try to impose my will and hurt him and put him away.
TriStar recently, it was publicised that Sage Northcote training with TriStar is going to have his next fight come there. Were you at the gym when he first came in for his trial?
Yeah, you got to train with Sage all last week while he was here, and it was a great experience. It's another great addition to our team. He's very young, 19 or 20 years old, and I've been in those same shoes. Coming to a different city and training with new people and stuff. So it was great having him there. He's a great kid, very, very genuine, happy person. Just wants to learn martial arts, and he's always got a smile on his face. So it's good to have that energy in the gym.
There's a lot of hype over him at the minute after his impressive UFC debut. Can you kind of see parallels between yourself and him? Because they said both started very young, moved to Canada, went to TriStar. And it was just about their progressing in your career.
That's about all the similarities. We both had an early start, and maybe people are looking at us, as future stars. So maybe that's where the similarities end. He has a completely different style than me, and his own expression in martial arts other than me. So he's gonna have a bright future.
The fight with Hector Lombard, is that in works right now? It seemed like your coach Firas Zahabi was on the MMA Hour, and it seemed like he had something to tell, but he won't.
It seems like it's going that direction, and I haven't got a contract yet, but that's what I keep hearing, and January, February, or something like that. Whenever my nose gets cleared, I'm good to go.
Is that the perfect matchup?
Rory, obviously, you were down on the team. Roy, I know with him last night. How's the mood there?
Yeah, no, he's Joe wants to fight. That's it. Joe came here to fight, and he never had any intentions on getting pulled from the fight or pulling out of the fight. I think a lot of people took it wrong. Like they thought that he pulled out of the fight because he got hurt or something. It's not the case. He did get hurt, unfortunately, and the medical testing that they did to him after made them withhold him from the event. And so, he's up there real upset, that he's not able to fight. But, he'll fix himself up. He'll get cleared, and I'm sure they're going to reschedule it.
Was he sparring that hard last week that happened, or was it kind of an accident?
Accidents happen, they were finishing up sparring, and, I guess an accident happened in the gym. And, that's what happens. It happened to me in the past, too. And I got cut leading up to the BJ Penn fight. It wasn't malicious. It was just we're in there sparring. We're in there trying to hit each other, get work in. But sometimes there's slip-ups that you can't control.
Just a quick aside to that. Recently the IV ban has come into place in the UFC, supported by the USADA and WADA as well. Johnny Hendricks seemed to be the first casualty of that, with the IV not being it seemed obviously had weight cutting issues, and you can factor in that maybe because
I don't think that's it though, because he wasn't even at the stage where he was using an IV. He didn't even get to the point where he was rehydrated. I think he had, what I heard, he had kidney stones, right? And he was probably thinking he could battle through that, and then when it came to be, it probably he couldn't.
But obviously with an IV you can use it to flush, rehydrate your system and
but that's after you cut the weight. He didn't get to that point.
Yeah, no, but in the possibility of a fight, if that option was there, do you think that maybe things could have been a bit different?
No, not in his case. I don't think he was at the point to use the IV. So, I think he probably had an illness or something like that that was preventing him from cutting the weight. And I'm sure he was just trying to keep it on the DL, push through it, and get in the fight. And maybe that was the wrong decision now. Looking back in hindsight. But
do you think that more education is needed? So although Hendricks didn't get to the point where he needed the IV ban was still in place yet, there's still people having weight cut issues. So do you think there's more education needed for how people can cut weight safely?
Proper nutrition, and not cutting too much weight, like if you're a big guy, fight other big guys, if it's really that hard for you to get down that extra 15 pounds, then maybe it's not worth it. If it's risking your health, I mean, for me, I cut to 170 comfortably, and I plan on fighting at 185 regardless. You know, I don't know. I can't speak for other people. And as far as the IV ban goes, you know, I support it because from what I've heard, that people use it to mask the PEDs. So if taking that out, you know, prevents people from covering their PEDs, then I'm for it, because I really don't think it's going to make that big of a deal for me. I'm comfortable with not using an IV rehydrating. I can just drink water and electrolytes and eat food, and I'll be fine.
Rory, there's a big fight coming up in January, obviously, with Carlos Condit and Robbie Lawler. Have you? Who do you think is going to come out on top in that?
I really don't know. Both great fighters. You know, they both beat me in the past, and you know, I think they both have iron wills. You know, they're very they have that fight spirit in them, and I think that's just going to make for an amazing show. And I just hope for the best man to win.
How many fights do you think you are away from a new title shot?
One. I think if I have an impressive performance, I get a knockout or submission the way I think that I could do it, I believe I'm right back in the picture. Just because of the year leading up to my title shot and the way the fight went in my title shot against Robbie, you know, it was a razor close fight up to him stopping me. But you know, one, maybe two. I mean, I don't know. I don't care. I think it's performance based, and my job is to go out there, perform, put guys away, and wait for my opportunity.